With more than 50,000 students attending Queensland University of Technology, these students are arriving via various methods of transportation. Some in their own cars, some through bikes, public transport and walking. With so many different types of transportation, this documentary will discuss how people travel to QUT, how it affects their education, and how it affects their personal life. Hey Sophia, thank you so much for coming into this interview today. Would you like to tell us a little bit about your life at QUT?
I'm enrolled full-time as a student at QUT and I'm currently studying my Masters in Teaching. So I drive to QUT and I did kind of start to struggle with travelling to QUT. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of off-campus parking, so the only parking available is on campus.
And how much of your income goes to parking?
I study at Kelvin Grove, and at Kelvin Grove the parking cost works out to be about $5 an hour, and I'm a full-time student, so I'm at uni 15 hours a week, and that adds up to about $80 per week.
Since the cost of parking and driving is so expensive, have you thought about using public transport instead?
Unfortunately for me, public transport isn't really an option because I also work part-time at the Children's Hospital, so I am working with really vulnerable members of the community, and Queensland Health's restrictions about close contacts and people who are symptomatic regarding COVID are extremely strict. So if I was to go on public transport and even catch a cold, I would not be able to go to work.
To gather as much data as we could on how people travelled to QUT campuses, we took a poll on Facebook and asked people to answer how they travelled. Public transport took the overall margin with 1,551 people using public transport. Buses had a total of 855 people. Train took the second spot with 562 people travelling by train, and cars took the third spot with 303 people travelling by car. The other choices were on foot, shuttle bus, combination, online learning, motorbike, e-scooter, and ferry. From the data we've collected, we've noticed that public transport is the most common option, but it is not the most favourable option for all QUT students.
I travel by bus, public transport. Travelling to QUT takes me probably around 3 hours round trip, so an hour and a half each way.
And how does that affect your studies?
I have to get up much earlier than I would have to get up if I lived closer, and I also am out much later because of the time it takes me to get home. In Brisbane, we have some of the least efficient transport in the world and also some of the most expensive public transport in the world. And I don't think it's fair that we should have to pay some of the highest prices for the least efficient and least effective public transport.
We can see from the interviews that not all students find public transportation as accessible as it should be. Some people catch public transport as it's more affordable, while others drive because it is more comfortable. With the information gathered, transportation by a bus is the far more common option for students. This could be because it is far cheaper to travel by a bus than to park at the campus.